So congratulations, you're in the show. So what's next? What's next is you will receive an email saying congratulations, and then you'll receive a second email later on once we assign you to a booth. In that email, you'll have the artist packet. That is a very important part of your thing, and I have included that towards the back of the thing. This is next year's. I've updated it for next year, and it's in there, and you can read it. But it's really important that you guys read that. And Beth is going to come over here and talk to you about that and some of the city rules that you should keep in mind when you are in the festival.
The first thing is that before you arrive at the show, you're going to be assigned a designated time to come in. And you might think, well, it doesn't matter. It's more convenient for me to show up earlier on Friday rather than later on Friday. And the reason that that doesn't work, and I should have brought a larger copy of the map, but I'm just going to kind of show you here. Let's say you've been told to come in here later on a Friday, and we have a lot of restaurants here, and you think, well, I'll just go early on a Friday. What difference does that make? Well, because the restaurants are probably getting food deliveries for the weekend, and we've made arrangements to have that street empty so that those trucks can come in and do that. You may think, well, I'll just come later. Well, that maybe isn't going to work, because once we've filled up these artists, then we might start erecting things in the center of the street, like an information kiosk or things like that, because those booths are done, check. And we also have varying times, not usually, but when different streets may be closed down. So for example, for student art, we're going to close it down on Thursday afternoon. And some streets, maybe some city might leave some street open for a business a little longer. So pay attention there. It's not like willy-nilly, random. The other thing is that you'll get your packet, but I do want to address that once you're given your space is to set up within that space. Some cities are going to have rules about the distance that's required between certain tents, and particularly if you're next to a food tent. If something is going on in a cooking situation and you happen to be next to that, then often cities will have a certain amount of space. So don't think, well, I'll just nudge over, I'll do this. And one year we did have someone that thought, well, I'll just move back a bit and extend, and they had their booth go over a grassy area, which maybe seems harmless, and obviously the sprinklers shouldn't have gone on. But when the sprinklers did go on, when they shouldn't have, the city, that was part of the permit to not have sprinklers go on that night. But when they did, instead of being outside of this person's booth, they went off inside of that person's booth. Maybe you don't shift like we notoriously have. We'll never have space 139 where we had it last year because of flooding. And so sometimes you maybe think, well, I'll just scoot over because there's plenty of space here. It could be that area floods, or something like that. So pay attention to all of those things, because they're probably, whatever city it is, it's very well thought out. All right, then you're gonna pick up your packet, and Maggie has provided you with a sample of one of those. It's going to give you a lot of good information. Artist parking, where you can park once you've gotten in, unloaded, and where you can park if you need overnight parking, camping, all of that information is gonna be there. It'll also let you know what time your vehicle during the show is allowed in the event zone. Sometimes you can, in the morning, maybe you're someone that likes to take something away from your booth and then bring it back. And so sometimes they have a section of time, like maybe early Sunday morning, where you are allowed to drive in the event zone. But you're going to want to be really clear on that, if that's allowed or not. We provide at Art Show booth sitting, and what that is, booth sitting is where you're going to be assigned a contact, and when you need to leave to go get something to eat, go to the bathroom, take a break, do those kind of things, you can call your booth sitter. All that information is going to be in that artist packet, so that how do I contact my booth sitter, how do I contact someone if there's a problem. My booth is flooded, other things are happening, so that kind of thing. Many places will have what are called patron dollars. Ours are called FAFO Bucks. But you're going to want to know what that looks like and be aware that they may be coming your way, so that you're not, when someone comes up to you and says, I want to pay with FAFO Bucks, you're not like, I don't know what that is. I'm not taking that for payment. And so just to be clear what they look like and the process for how you will be paid for that. How we do it is we pick them up at the end of the day on Sunday, right towards the last couple hours. We go, cut you a check, and get it back to you before you leave that evening. Different cities are going to have different city rules, but some of ours would be, some of the ones for us that I know were less obvious to me. Let's say you have your designated booth space and then you have a canopy. Well, if your canopy for Ocala extends over the sidewalk, that becomes a fire code violation. So some of those, if we have anything like that that is a little less obvious, we're going to put that in the artist packet, but you want to be aware of that, beforehand. For us, all across the board, you cannot block a sidewalk. So usually we give you 3 feet between the end of where your booth marking is and where the sidewalk begins. So you want to be sure not to have your stuff spilling over into the sidewalk. We have a certain amount of liability insurance, but we don't cover your artwork. And we actually had a question last year. Someone had heat exhaustion and had to go to the ER, and they asked if we covered medical, and we don't. So I would think that's pretty standard. Yeah, just that general liability insurance, but not your artwork and not your health.